Okay. Hey everyone, glad you're all here. We're going to wait another couple of minutes just to give a few more people the chance to join, and yeah, we'll kick things off. You have your mic off, right? Okay, so I think we'll start. So yeah, hello everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Dust Community Office Hours. Today, we're bringing together Gianna and Lena from our customer success team to dive into two huge topics for anyone who's building or administering AI agents. So that's measuring ROI and tracking user sentiment. Whether you're looking to quantify the productivity gains from your agent fleet or better understand how your users are experiencing your deployments, this is the session for you. We'll walk through a few practical approaches to both and then open it up for your live questions. So yeah, okay. Without any further ado, Gianna and Lena, over to you.
All right. Thanks, Okal, for kicking it off. Hey, everybody. My name is Gianna. I work on the success team at Dust in deployment. And we often get questions on deployment of how to build agents, of how to make them effective, how to power them up and make them super capable without our intervention. But how do we know if the agents that we've actually built are effective? This is a question we get all the time, and the question of user sentiment is a very relevant one. So today we'll go over some really quick key pointers to show you how we do it. So first things first. See my screen, right?
Not yet.
There
No,
we go.
there you go.
Beautiful. Okay. Sorry, sharing my screen there. So sorry about that. Okay, so just to give you I think the sound is good now. Sorry about that, guys. So beyond just the native features in the Dust platform, we also have the feedback culture. So how are you and different members of your team actually giving feedback in, say, Slack or in Teams or in direct messaging channels? We'll also take a look at the loop that you can provide, incorporating these two things together and maybe even creating some agents that provide some feedback. And then we'll look forward into the roadmap to see what is existing today that tracks user sentiment, what will happen in the future, and is there a way for us to kind of bridge the gap between the two? So first things first, native features happened a bit earlier this year. We call it product update 17, but externally that might mean earlier this year. We enabled what was known as thumbs up, thumbs down. And that means that any message that you use or you natively check out in Dust, you can either give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to provide feedback on a agent. In this case, let me see. Let's see, maybe I see this one from SpaceX. I think it's interesting. I might give it a thumbs up and I can say, great feedback, good sources. Once this is submitted, this will be saved on the back end, and actually builders and admins who have access to the reporting analytics in this space will be able to see thumbs up. Let's see, maybe if there was another that I didn't like so much and maybe wanted to improve my agent with, I would be able to click on improve my agent, and I have a few different tags here. So either I didn't like the tone, it didn't really follow instructions, it took too long. Of course, again, I can customize here. And the editors only will be able to see this feedback, again, in the actual analytics. So in this case, I can say, too long, please make more concise. And then my builder will get that feedback. You'll be able to see what types of recommendations there will be to improve our agent. Now, if you don't already know, You can either, if you are an enterprise plan with Dust, you can go into your admin space, go into my analytics, and this is where I can get a sense of my detailed activity report. So if I download, say, the one for March, this will load. I might even have it already loaded. Let's check it out. Yes. And you'll see whenever you download your activity reports, you get basically a zip file with 5 or 6 different folders or data points. The one that we're interested here is in feedback. Might be a bit hard to see and to read, but actually we can see the time, the actual user, the conversation ID, and then also the actual qualitative feedback that we have. So in this case, I want a little bit more detail on the risk part of my query. This didn't follow instructions, and we're getting this feedback. Now, what you might be thinking is, okay, you can get a sense of like maybe once a month, I'll check my analytics and I'll be able to improve my agent once I see what those analytics look like. We also do have more active workspace usage analytics across the board. So if you were to say, go into Dust and check out your agent's analytics, let's say follow-up agent here, I can check on my insights and I can see I've had 5 active users, little dips here and there, and then I have my source messages, latency, also even what MCPs this agent is using. But in terms of more regular analytical usage, we actually have something coming up. I will save it for the last piece in the roadmap, so you can check that out. Next piece is conversation sharing as well. So conversation links can actually be directly shared with team members. You can mention them directly, the builder, in your chat. So if you're talking with an agent and want to show very directly the conversation you're having with an agent that a builder has made, you can actually tag the builder directly in the convo and say, I don't really love this part so much, or I think we can improve A, B, or C. Beyond just the initial native features that are available today, we also have a feedback culture. So something that we look at across the board for a lot of different customers that we have today is what's known as a dedicated feedback channel. And this is where we can actually have both builders and members, so users of the platform alike, actually communicate what they like or maybe where they see improvement for different agents that they build and use. So this is more of something like a short message maybe on, hey, I had a general impression of the GTM agent that we have. I really wish it were connected, for example, to HubSpot fields on specific items that we're dealing with. If there's different contexts, different deal phases that are adjusting. A feedback channel can gather a lot of that quantitative data, and even better, we can actually have team members respond to that and even have Dust agents actually use Slack as a data source so that it can create a digest agent for us. From there, we can assign different owners as well. You can always invite team members, of course, to edit your agent. And you can basically block out time as well. Now, again, this is more internal recommendations that we have, but internally, if you block out very dedicated time for your agents to be reviewed, and also assign different team members to specific agents if they haven't already been, we have a bit more of an assurance of quality control. So in short, a feedback channel to gather the feedback, a team member to be responsible for agents that are used by many team members, and then finally also the time to actually make those changes, make those edits. Those are recommendations that we go for. And these are some just basic agent concepts. So a customer feedback digest agent. This is actually coming from either maybe legal review. In this case, what's the sentiment on a legal review agent this month? I made it last month or this month, and I would like to get just more a feel on if it's useful or not. You also have product feedback analysis. So for example, we can actually connect, of course, to calls and get much more qualitative data to identify trends across different agents, different features that are discussed on call. And then we also have our feature request logger agent, which is always listening in, takes a casual message. It would be nice if the agent could do X and automatically logs it. Again, this is going into your call transcripts if you have, for example, a weekly debrief on the way that AI is implemented. Final notes, really quick. If we're looking at the general loop, when you first build an agent with users and having feedback enabled from day one, they can always use thumbs up, they can use thumbs down. They can announce their feedback channel in the rollout so the team members know right away, this is the feedback that I have. You can set a 30-day checkpoint in your calendar. Then we're collecting signals. The agent is out. We can gather more passive signals through those reactions, through the feedback channel, through the analytics, of course, that we see in our workspace. From there, we take in that feedback. We actually have agents as well, or we could have agents that are grouping findings by different agents and by different themes that are flagging critical issues for immediate action. We iterate on those changes, and then we close that loop. So the more interesting component is, well, I would like today to be able to improve my agents, improve their instructions. I would also maybe like to gather feedback more systematically instead of individually, and maybe even in the future, evaluate the true performance of my agents. We have something for you. First is Sidekick. Sidekick is going to be available very soon. I might even say next week within the Dust workspace. Risky to say, it will be there, but we've been planning for this for quite a while. Sidekick is basically an assistant that helps you to write instructions directly in your agent builder. It provides recommendations. It connects better data sources, it connects new tools if you haven't automatically done it in the agent builder. So the first point is, how do we prevent issues with our agents? You can use Sidekick, and Sidekick will help us from building from scratch. What if you already have an agent built and you want to know how it's performing? This is where reinforced agents, which is currently in beta, is being tested. And reinforced agents basically goes through your instructions and goes through different conversations had across all users. It creates a synthetic data set, and then it shares that information with you as a builder and says, this is how you improve your agent. This is in beta, it will be coming soon. And then the final, and this is a bit more into the future, is the evaluation component, which is LLM as a judge, performance, alerts, etc. So sharing all of these with you, we have a few things in the pipe, but we're really excited to see how you use them.
Super interesting, Gianna. Thank you for that. We have a couple of questions in the chat. One of them is more a comment, and both of them are actually from, I hope I'm not butchering your name, Hugh. Yeah, so the very first one is, yeah, the issues that he's having or they're having on the feedback is that it's linked to a conversation and not a specific message. So for long conversations, it's difficult to understand the context, directly where the issue was. Do you have any thoughts to share on this? Do you have any?
The issues I'm having on this is the feedback is limited to the conversation and not the message. So in terms of thumbs up, thumbs down, obviously that's specifically on the message that's in the conversation. If you, for example, tag a builder in your chat with a mention, that's the first thing that comes to mind. They'll be able to see the thread of the conversation. Yeah, I'm not quite sure if that answers the question, but I think there's some workarounds. And also when we move a little bit further into the future with reinforced agents, it's even more globally than just a message or a conversation. It's actually the way that the agent is configured.
Great. We do have another question from Hugh, which is about Sidekick actually. So, will Sidekick be able to check if a similar agent already exists?
Yes. Yes. So almost similar to if you've used skills today, you'll see as you're creating a new skill that a skill that is similar already exists will have a similar mechanism for Sidekick. You'll be able to kind of prevent duplications. Really good point.
Yeah. And maybe just a note on this, you can already do this with the Dust agent. It's not exactly, like as refined as a full product feature, but that is something you could presently do. There is another question, which is, can we test the beta version from Able?
Let me ask our product team. Let me ask. I'm assuming this is the beta version of Sidekick.
Yeah.
It's coming next week. It's coming Monday, so the 16th.
So it will
you can
be.
wait until then. You can absolutely use it.
Okay, so there's another question, but I think it might actually be more for the next phase. So Alexis, I'm going to shelve your question for after Lena does her section of the chat. So we will tackle it. Okay, so Lena, I think it's your turn. Unless we're missing some questions, I think we should be good to go. Okay. Perfect.
Next topic is going to be around ROI. So, what we will be covering today is obviously what are the KPIs that are interesting to track when we look at ROI with Dust, what we see as the common approaches from different customers, but also what is our own framework because we've developed our own methodology at Dust, the limitation, the calculation, and also how maybe you can replicate this methodology for your workspace. So that's it. Don't hesitate to ask questions. And let's start. So basically, KPIs that comes to mind when we are thinking about ROI. Well, adoption. Adoption is obviously the first huge brick of value. So KPIs that many customers tends to track when they begin with Dust, it's not really value, is adoption because obviously AI is new and Dust is also used as a change management tool to make sure that the whole company is accustomed with AI. And many companies, they tend to track monthly active users, weekly active users, weekly retention, and so on and so on. So those usually are the first real KPIs that comes to mind when we think about ROI. Then moving from adoption, we tend to look into engagement. So number of messages per active user, category distributions. I will go back to this section because this is linked to our own methodology, but also top agent concentration. What are the agents mostly used within your workspace? Human versus API split. API is also super important to track because this usage is also 100% automated, and it's also interesting to see how much of the usage is fully automated versus still a bit controlled by human. Another interesting KPI I do love, which is not here, is numbers of agents that are used by 3 departments or more to see horizontal usage, but also to see collaboration in between teams. And for instance, at Dust, we do have an end-off agent that is used by the sales team and the success team. And I know from my past experiences that end-off is always a complicated type of meeting. And the fact to have an agent has also improved drastically the way we collaborate between sales and success. So this is just example to give you the type of value you can take or you can be interested in monitoring. Obviously, the impact is going to be the main focus of today. So when we talk about impact, we can talk about time saved, we can talk about money, we can talk about complexity of usage also, we can talk of time to first value, and linked really directly to impact is the business outcomes. So depending on the departments, the outcome can be super different. For a support team, deflection is obviously a super nice KPI to track. For marketing, producing team, time to production, and also numbers, let's say for marketing team, number of articles you're able to produce before and after having an agent. For HR, but for also the whole company, onboarding time when backed with agent does not only have an impact of performance because people are quicker to be equipped, but also the satisfaction, onboarding on a new company can be tricky. So having the right level of tool and of support is super important. Finally, how fast you make decision, how fast you can exchange, find information is super valuable. So this covers pretty much a lot of KPI, and if you've been working in SaaS and in customer success, that ROI can be a tricky and complex topic. What we see from our own customers, you can have obviously very different methodology on how to assess. And I think it's super important to have your own methodology that aligns with obviously your executive team to make sure that it's also on track with your business objectives. So what we see usually is self-report survey. Mostly this is kind of NPS, how satisfied are users about the tool, how valuable is the tool seems to be. So this is kind of easy to put in place, but can be biased, and also this is not transformable into concrete time saved or money. Yet this is one of the easiest tool to put in place. Query estimation, this is more of a mathematic approach. Let's say you have 100 users and they use the tool on this level of amount. You could say an approximation that each request, each interaction, or each conversation should save or impact a certain KPI by X, and then calculate. But it's kind of vague, depending on the agent, depending on the tool, depending on the person, the time saved or the impact can be so different that this is a calculation methodology, but it's not that complex and exhaustive, I would say. What we see the most when it comes to ROI, it's really the before and after workflow. So usually someone in the ops team in charge of AI will conduct interview, users to users or department per department, on specific use cases that should bring a lot of value. Ask the team, okay, this current task, how many hours are you actually dedicating to this task? Or how much, let's say, article are you producing, writing a month, and so on and so on, and then do the after analysis. The good methodology is to have quite a large sample, because if I'm a salesperson and I would say for an account summary today it takes me half a day and after 2 minutes, could differ still from one salesperson to another. So the right methodology here for before and after is to have quite of a large sample of qualitative answers to then do an average. This is kind of a nice methodology, but for the ones that have already experienced this methodology, takes a lot of time, so could be painful. Still, it works.
Sorry, just having a bit of a technical issue, but Lena will be back in a moment.
I was ejected.
Oh.
I'm back.
Okay.
Okay. When did I speak alone for?
You lost like 2 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, no
So
problem.
last methodology is really based on usage counting. So quite similar to the overall query estimation, but really based on the type of the conversation, the active users. Also, now that you do have a lot of tools towards collaboration, let's say how many conversations are multiplayer conversation, how many conversations are including many agents, how many agents do you have that are chained agents? Those are specific adoption items that could also showcase value. That being said, we do have our own methodology, which is not exhaustive, which has limitation, but as a CSM, what I love about this methodology is that we automated it. So it's accessible for us within our workspace, customer by customer. So if you are an enterprise customer, feel free to ask your CSM, maybe it's me, maybe it's someone else, for this report, because this is something that is doable super easily. That being said, the methodology, so what we look into when thinking about ROI is not really the usage, or it's not really the before and after, because we think that not all conversations are really the same. Even for one agent, depending on the question that you are triggering, the output can bring a lot of value or less value. So what we are looking when thinking about ROI is really the output. So we are taking into account all the output from all the agents, not only the custom agent, but also at Dust, at Deep Dive, which are super powerful agents that can also call on the go tools, skills, and so on. And we've classified all the outputs within 4 categories. Basically, the first category is when an agent will answer a basic conversation with a simple query. It will access knowledge within the company data, but no tools will be used. Don't hesitate to ask questions if you need specification on what tools are, but I assume that this concept is known. Then the second category is personal productivity. So obviously, the agent will be connected to company data, but also be using tools such as Gmail, Outlook, Calendar, the web search, the file generation, and so on. Company data retrieval, the tool used are company shared tools, Notion, Confluence, Google Drive, Slack, GitHub, etc. And then advanced workflow, we are looking at queries for really databases, Snowflake, BigQuery, HubSpot, Salesforce, Jira, Linear, GitHub, and so on. So really, we are looking at the tools that are being used by the agent for each specific output, and based on the tools that are used and the combination of knowledge, then we classify each answer, let's say answer, within a category. For each category, we assume that an amount of time is being saved. So it can be 3 minutes, but also what we are discussing with customer is that this is an assumption from our side. It's totally flexible. We can change it, we can adapt it, but that's a very simple way to have all the output from your workspace, divide them in 4 categories, and then obviously very easily multiply and have the total amount of time saved that then you can translate into FTE, into money, into whatever you want, but we stop at this stage of the methodology. So yes, it gives graphics such as this one, and the calculation, it's super simple. Obviously, we count all the outputs. We multiply each numbers of outputs depending on the category and on the time saved. We have then an assessment of the number of hours saved per active users, because we think that this is the right metric that we should all monitor. And optional, it can give customer the ability to then multiply by hourly rate, or then compare to obviously the cost of the licenses. But this is really something up to each customer to go into the more value money thing. So that's it. Maybe another more governance thing is that we do not only use this categorization to just track ROI, we also track those categories to monitor the maturity of each customer. What we see usually is that at the beginning of the onboarding, obviously you'll have a lot of basic interaction, but what we want to see is months after months, the more company data, advanced, and also personal, because personal, having a personal agent, even if it has a less concrete impact, we all need maybe to have help when it comes to email, calendar, and so on. So as CSM, we do look into those categories to check the maturity of each customer and to maybe push than specific usage per department or for the whole company. Okay. Then limitation. So limitation, I think one limitation of this methodology is that we take kind of the whole outputs when we know that during a conversation, sometimes you have a back and forth, and then after maybe 5 exchanges, you get really the valuable message. So what we do usually is that I retrieve some like, let's say I take 75% of the outputs, not 100%, because we understand also that not each messages bring even 1 minute of time saved. This is not how it works. So time estimates, like I presented, is fixed, not personalized. It can be personalized actually, because we do have agents within the customer success team to provide us those dashboards, so it's kind of super easy to change. API can inflate also the volume, but I would say that it's not really an issue, but really I think API usage should have maybe at some point its own ROI methodology, because usage is so different, and I don't know if it's really time saved really than rethinking the structure of a team. And quality improvements aren't captured, just time saved, and I think time saved it's only a small piece of what this can bring to the whole company. But at least it's automated and accessible super easily for us. Now, how can you replicate this methodology? Well, you can ask us for the report, obviously, but maybe you would like to have your own methodology. I would say the easiest approach, thank you, another word of methodology, approach would be to define your categories. In our case, we are thinking about outputs, but you could also, let's say, classify agents and have a categorization for agent. You could classify that type of users, advanced users that are where their job is fully transformed, or more basic users. So find the category, try to categorize your overall usage within those categories, and then the methodology is really the same. Build your own ROI formula per categories, define the impact KPI. It can be time saved, it can be transformation, it can be whatever you like, and then it's super easy to multiply and then to have the results. Lastly, if you have a scalable methodology, I would recommend obviously to have an agent automate the reporting, because the most painful thing about ROI, I think, is often half, 80-90% of the job is kind of manual. So if you can find a methodology that can be automated, that's the best way to go. And that's it.
Okay, thanks a lot, Lena. I think we're missing something. 1 second. Okay. Great. So we have some really good questions and comments from the chat. The very first one is from Alexis, and I will put that up on the screen now. I have issues quantifying how much better we are with Dust if the effort is not written beforehand. What if we never tracked the 2-hour effort? So this goes back to the question of not even having baselines.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on how you might address that?
Well, I think that for new customers,
Yes.
obviously this is something that we push during kickoff to have kind of baselines. You could use all the feedback tool that Gianna mentioned to also gather even after the baseline. But I would say maybe the before and after is quite manual and quite individual. So finding a methodology that avoid having those manual before and after would be a good solution in my opinion.
Great. We do have some insights from Hugh in the channel, and I'm just going to throw those up on screen right now. Thank you. Yeah, so a couple of things that they are doing is asking a few people how much time it would have taken you without Dust, because if you don't have your baselines, how do you even measure your progress? And using that as a baseline. The second would be highlighting all the new things teams is doing with agents, and I think this goes to the heart of not really being always able to make apples to apples comparisons, because
Yeah.
the way you're working changes dramatically, right? So the pasts in the future are not the same quantity. So I think this really goes right to the heart of that. Do you have any thoughts to add to this, Gianna?
I think it's super interesting. It also reminds me of somebody on the success team, Gail. Some of you might have known her, met her. She's played around a lot with agents as time trackers. So in the beginning, it might be kind of hard to assign specific values to an agent, but your agent could, for example, look at the number of hours in your calendar, and then from there, you maybe bring on the intangibles without necessarily bringing in an agent to create that baseline. I know it almost seems counterintuitive, but we do actually have time tracking templates in Dust that you can kind of test out. But otherwise, yeah, I think it's never usually super buttoned up and neat, and people know exactly how many of the hours they spend on a task because it also fluctuates so much. So I think the feedback is a super valid point in that as well.
Super. Then final question from Alexis, much more like direct and tactical. Can an administrator prompt agent request feedback from the user and use this as feedback for ROI?
Well, not usually at the moment, but definitely for Sidekick, which is going to be a central tool and help any builders update, upgrade their agent, could be also something that we add to the prompt in the future.
Additionally, this kind of goes back a little bit to if you don't today have like a direct messaging platform channel around Slack agent improvement, maybe just for builders and your team. It kind of is a way to do that, maybe just without doing it directly in the platform, but it is more visible so team members can kind of learn and there's knowledge sharing involved. I think it's an interesting point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Sidekick will really help as well.
No, absolutely. And that would also expose that information to agents. So, as an additional layer of information you could build on top of these insights you're getting from your Slack channel,
Yeah,
that could be an interesting approach as well. So it seems like that's all the questions we have for today. So we're going to close off the meeting, sorry, the session. But I'd like to invite you to please share any topics you might have, anything that's on your mind in the community Slack. We're very, very happy to receive new topics. This session is still for you, so yeah, please share any thoughts that you might have. I would like, before we close, to send a shout out to Lena from Mano, who was the source of today's topics. So I hope you feel like you got something out of it and you learned something new that you can start to adopt internally. But yeah, thanks for being here and see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Is it close?